Cher apologizes for George Floyd tweet. I am truly sorry. The singer was accused of being a white savior for a tweet she posted about late George Floyd. She's apologized in which she suggested she could have prevented his death. And the quote is, I said, Mom. So this is a conversation between a mother and a daughter. And if you want to, I'm going to be breaking this down in a thoughtful way, I believe. If it's not a thoughtful way, that is not my intentions. I'm trying to think and apply logic to things that are going on around me in the community. And remember, we're all in one sandbox and we're all playing in the same sand. There's no analogy there. I just believe that if something's happening in the world, it's happening to everybody. That being said, in the Cher quote, it says, I said, Mom. I know this is going to sound crazy, capital crazies, but I kept thinking maybe if I had been there, I could have helped. And this is a reference to being there at the George Floyd scene at the Cup Foods in South Minneapolis. Now, she says in writing, maybe if I'd been there, I could have helped. I guarantee you, regardless of race, there are many people in Minneapolis area who are thinking the exact same thing that Cher wrote. I have wondered that because I have been around the area that happened in. The odds of me being there would be very slim, but possible for me to have been there. And we, as a community, people talk about this. It's not the first thing we say. We don't introduce ourselves to somebody new and say, hey, what would you have done had you been there? However, there is a conversation that does happen between people in the community that really stems off of this idea. Not because Cher said it, but this idea is being played out by a lot of minds that are walking around the Minneapolis neighborhood area. We as people think and talk. We talk about things like, had I been there, would I have been able to push the police officer off of George Floyd? And then the conversation then ensues about a legal conversation about, well, we didn't know what would have happened, and we didn't know the ultimate outcome of everything. So we would be playing a gamble if we had run up to the police officers and just push them off. Then a conversation ensues about, well, you probably would have been charged with something. You would not have known that if you saved anyone, you would not know you saved anyone, but you would then have a charge against you for obstructing justice, possibly assaulting a police officer. What Cher said is actually playing in the minds of people in Minneapolis. Again, I don't know how many. It's not a white or black conversation. It's a thoughtful conversation of like, what's the legal ramifications had I been more involved in the situation at the time? This is on everybody's mind more after the incident than before, obviously. Maybe if I'd been there, I could have helped. The topic of savior complex was placed on top of this immediately. So if I or anyone would read this about any other police incident, we would not if we didn't have whether this was a Caucasian woman talking to her mother or not, if we had no information at all, and all we knew is this person was talking about a police incident, maybe if I had been there, I could have helped. This is a common thought that plays in, again, vague comment. I can't tell you how many people think this thought, but this thought itself is not. See, that now I'm countering an absolute with an absolute, so I get the logic there. But, however, I'm wondering if this phrase, maybe if I'd been there, I could have helped. That phrase can be placed on any incident in the universe. even the ship going over the Suez Canal and lodging itself. Maybe if I was on the shore and shouting, "Don't turn left, turn right," people think that. It's a very bad analogy, but the analogy is still there, that this comment can be placed on top of other incidences around the universe. Then people apply that this is a savior complex, when if you take it down to its bare essentials, you have a Caucasian woman talking to her mother about a concern. So if other people think the same comment, is it racist to say, maybe if I'd been there I could have helped? And if we as a people do get angry at somebody saying these words, maybe if I'd been there I could have helped, I don't know 100% how to solve racism. But I believe that attacking somebody who even shows concern publicly, you're limiting your odds of solving racism concerns, problems. If you're trying to fight racism, attacking a white woman, Caucasian woman, and her mother's conversation, I don't know how that's going to help solve racism. Would you rather have a Caucasian woman saying nothing at all? What would be the opposite, and would you want that? Cher just said, if I could have helped, I would have tried. That is a human caring quality that got hammered, and they didn't necessarily care in the right formation of words. Here's how I think things generically go down on the internet. People have a long list of things that they have along the sideline, and I don't have, these are going to be examples. People on the internet, and I'm being vague, there's no race involved here, I'm saying people. People on the internet have a slew of word projectiles and conversational anecdotes that they want to nail people with. They're looking at the internet, and if they have issues with anything, they're going to want to attack, and they have an arsenal ready to go. And I believe, I allege, that these comments are in their mental arsenal, and they're looking for something so that they can use and pile these on to somebody who's, I think, is having a thoughtful conversation with her mother. That being said, the people who want to throw verbal word projectiles, written or verbal, at people on the internet, they do not make up 100% of all the people's perspective. Oftentimes, I see something on the internet, news, or media in some way, and I will go and talk to an individual. If it's racial, it's racial. If it's man, woman, I might talk to a woman and say, is this true? And they'll either confirm or disconfirm or say something else like, oh, that's the least of my problems. This is more of a concern. So engaging with the community, I would question if all the people in the universe think that Cher talking to her mother is the most crucial thing that the world needs to be worried about. And if you are, in fact, super worried that a Caucasian woman is talking to her mother in this tone in a public conversation written out, isn't there more pressing concerns than this? And then lashing out at her, I don't understand, because all that's going to do is make people say in their minds as they're typing and wanting to communicate and connect with the world that, oh no, we can't talk about this or that. I can't show concern over George Floyd because it will turn on me. I have to be afraid of talking about George Floyd. I have to be afraid if I show concern in a certain way, and I don't know the rules, so I don't know all the rules, I kind of know some, so I won't communicate. And there will be a divide even further. I think that this is a healthy, thoughtful understanding of what could be going on played out over the entire world. That if you were sitting down with a psychologist and one person was alienating another person, here's a dictionary, and you can only use 90% of the words in there. And 5 years later, oh no, now you can only use 80% of the words in there. And as time goes on, it's like we as a culture are more limited into what we can say or express if everybody is hammering everybody for saying something as simple as, maybe if I'd been there, I could have helped. Many people are saying this and thinking this. If you as an individual are typing on the internet saying that that is an evil thing, we have to have you apologize for that, or something's wrong with you for saying that, then what that's going to do is, because other people are thinking the same thought, if I had been there, maybe I could have helped. That is negating their thought on the matter that is so played out critically over the thoughtful demographic of the United States, or world. The more we slam people on the internet, the more we hammer people on the internet and attack them, we are writing a script that says this is how you need to communicate from now on. We are going to control your output because we're going to get all these people to agree with me that we hate you for saying, maybe if I'd been there, I could have helped. That is, to me, if you take away everything, that is a healthy thing to say for a mother to say to a child to say to a mother. I'm not angry at this. I'm just being thoughtful that most of the people in the world will see Cher having to apologize for communicating about what could be labeled as concern over racism and being hammered, and everybody's watching this going, oh shoot, I don't want to say anything about racism now because Cher got hammered for saying something that's caring. But you said caring in the wrong way, so now we hate you. Where do you want to be with racism? And I mean this in everybody, not just a particular gender or nationality or skin color. I mean anyone who sees this. Where do you want to be with racism in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Do you want in 20 years that everybody is so like, I'm afraid to talk about racism and I'm scared because, oh my gosh, I will lose 1,000 followers if I say anything nice about anything that's going on and it be taken the wrong way? Is that where you want to be in 10, 20, or 30 years? Now, looking backwards, or I guess backwards, see, already I'm like trying to second guess myself because it's successful. If I oversimplify it, it's wrong. If I overcomplicate it, it's wrong. You know, I honestly have never heard any bad things said about Cher. Everybody needs to feel sorry for themselves and feel like they're wrong when their thoughts come out. I mean, that if that's where we end up, that's pretty powerful. If in 10, 15 years we are afraid to say something that of a concern, like if in 20 years from now or even 10, the theme is don't say anything unless it's scripted, approved by the social media. Am I supposed to be afraid to talk about racism? And if not, then can I freely talk about racism and concerns? And if I can't freely talk about racism and concerns, and be able to accidentally make mistakes, where is the script that I need to read? There is no healing after that, because words are what is needed to heal people, and if people are edited, there's no healing. Do you want people to be fake around you in person, or do you want people around you to be real and their honest self? However, when we play it out in the media, that's not the case. We don't want people to be their real selves. We want everybody to hide any ism about them, so that everybody keeps narrowing down to this one politically correct, isotomically, universally friendly entity that is fake and has been processed over and over again. That's what we want everybody to be, and ignore the grand scope of human interactions. Cher, you didn't say anything wrong. What happened is you said something where people could place their targets and stab it. That's what happened. I'm pretty sure that anybody with a caring heart, a truly caring heart and accepting heart, would look at what you said in the writings and go, well, that's nice. The disconnect between everyday life and social media is phenomenal. People can have conversations freely and openly up and down Lake Street, and it cannot transpire over to social media, because it's two completely different worlds. See, everything I said in this video, I'd have absolutely no problem talking to anyone of any color along Lake Street about all of this that I said in this. And it would just be a casual conversation. But if any of this hits media, the social media, it's just like the Cher talk. Had Cher said that in a conversation with people along Lake Street, it would be an endearing conversation. I almost guarantee it. And somebody might chime in as like, we'll make a little comment about, well, you just don't get it or something like that. And then the disconnect between real life and social media is phenomenal. I can't believe how many things I've seen transpired around Lake Street, and when you look at the or protests or whatever, and you look at the news of what they covered about that event you were at, I'm like, it's almost like I was at two different events, or they're two different events. The things that are left out and the things that are focused on it's like altering reality. Is what I think is going on a daily basis, and phenomenal. I took a day to think about it, what I said in this video. And I've learned in the last day of reflection that, and this sprung up because I was having a conversation with an American black man and a African immigrant, and we were all talking about the George Floyd case and each of our perspectives, and we were able to rationally talk to each other and even conclude our own thoughts to each other and agree upon our conclusions about everything. However, it dawned on us that whatever we thought of the case and we all kind of agreed upon and made sense of, if you take that same conversation we had and you place it up into the media or social media, everyone would rip it apart. Any conclusion that we realized it as we were discussing, it makes sense that on a micro level, people do talk and not click, but communicate in a way that it makes sense on a rational level, in a common sense level. However, with so many, all these individual agendas out in the public eye, everybody grasping at their own take on things and pushing their take on things, any mediation amongst the people will get torn apart if it's presented to social media or media. Any band-aid, no, any healing that has gone on in a microcosm of the neighborhood will be ripped apart and cannot be shared. Share. That's how I'll conclude this. Oh, I feel happy about this video now. Okay.